Okay, moving ahead. I think for this video I'm gonna so the pit dried, I'm gonna work on that, and at that point we'll probably maybe do some background, a little bit more, maybe cleaning up some things. This is an original or a existing painting that includes sort of the vibe I'm going for, the idea I'm going for the avocado. So this is definitely something like this is more my reference. So there's still plenty of space, plenty to do. Oh, rats! I have to watercolor paint a bunch. So let's see. I think for the I'm gonna look at this size guy. Let me see. I'm looking at a couple different things. That's a 12. There's my back to my 10. Yeah, I think this is the best one for the pit. So I know that it's slowly building up. It looked a lot darker when I had that indigo and burnt orange in there. So partly it has dried back lighter, and partly it looks lighter because I've started painting some darker things around it. So it's fascinating how it's kind of all relative. But I think what I'm going to do is mostly do a similar thing that I've been doing. Probably do mostly just water up in the upper left corner. I'm sorry, upper right. The direction that the light is coming from. I'm going to try to just model the rounding of the spherical object that the pit is, and which is really just kind of strengthening the contrast of light and dark. And I think I'm also going to just kind of give it more color, just some more paint overall. There's a color that I'm mixing, and that's Quin burnt orange and Azo yellow, and it's sort of I think of it as kind of a quinacridone gold sort of thing. So here's some water, and I want to just start bringing in a little more, yeah, just more paint. I'm going to be very careful up there. I still want this is going to be the white highlight, so I still want to make sure that the value is pretty light around the highlight. But I just want to get some more oomph overall. And I'm going to let go of that attempt at the reflected light. For the most part, there'll be a little bit already going on there that I'll kind of keep. But this is a tricky thing because I want to make sure. Let me get a smaller brush. I want to make sure that I get enough dark color, but I don't want to cover up my light areas. And I still want to make sure, it really reads as very spherical with some some strong light, a strong light source on it. I'm just bringing in a little water and coaxing some of that color away from the lighter area, grabbing a little bit from down there. There's, depending on your familiarity with light patterns of different 3D forms, I like to think of things as sort of concentric circles, sort of around where the light source is really hitting. So right here is where it's lightest. It's going to be sort of progressively darker as it goes around like that. And speaking of progressively darker, let's get some darker color. This is just the burnt orange. I'm going to try to see. I'm not going to introduce the indigo this time. Just going to kind of see what happens with just this. Smaller brush. A little bit of darker color up there. A little bit of darker color over here. Another stray hair there. Let's see, I'm going to use my small brush and see if I can dab in. I'm going to get my, this is one of the times when I do like the, that small brush by Silver Brush that apparently, there we go. It will hold more water, so I got to be careful not to introduce a bunch more water, but it holds, it'll hold enough watery pigment, even though it's pretty concentrated, to still move from the brush to the paper. The thing I found about reflected light is that I feel like I do usually have better luck if I build up the sort of the appropriate values before or first initially, and then scrub out. It seems like it's a tricky thing to really manage the how bright the reflected light is versus the area with reflected light as opposed to the area without it. It's easy to get thrown off. I said I wasn't going to bring in indigo, and apparently I was lying there. I'm going to try to make a little bit of my darker dark. I partly wonder if sometimes I feel like the indigo dries quite a bit lighter than it goes on. And I'm wondering if this was one of those times. Oh, I'm totally lying. Look at... You know, you gotta laugh at yourself. Or you can just laugh at me. That's fun. I think I will fuss one tiny bit with that with a little bit thirsty brush. Not sure if I've just been sloppy over here or what, but that edge is pretty sloppy. Oh, that's right. I was doing that shadow and was purposely not trying to not touch the that part of the avocado. So now there's sort of a gap there that I don't want. So I'm going to come back over that. Like I kind of lost the shape of that a little bit. Oh well. If this doesn't, if the indigo sort of dries back too light, I'm gonna play with some mixing of the Quin burnt orange and some dioxazine purple. I'm not quite sure why I haven't done that already, but because we were playing with that mix and it's a lovely one. I don't think it dries back as light as these guys, the indigo mix, might, but that's good for that. And so can't really paint that part, and I think that's going to be drying enough so where if I move things around painting other things it will be fine. And what am I going to do? I feel like showing you guys something a little bit different. The maybe I'll try this bigger. I'm gonna use just sort of a bigger brush, bigger round brush, I should say, and instead of wetting the background with the Hake brush, which is a nice way of unifying things, I'm just going to try to kind of paint quickly. Maybe I already did something like this. Paint quickly with a bigger round brush. This happens to be a very nice Kolinsky sable. But just kind of paint quickly. Just I wanted to get some watery color mixed up because it's watercolor. But you can see that it's a little hard to cover as much ground as quickly as you can with the Hake brush, but I just wanted to try a little bit something different. It's if I sort of do too much scrubbing, like I'm brushing like that, it'll pick up the color. Hey, I wonder what it would be like to bring some of this across the bottom. He said, and then did it. Gotta make sure I'm not too sloppy here. This is another brush that is technically a round brush, but is not that pointy. And you'll see that when I make these strokes and just sort of flatten it out, that it almost emulates a flat brush. And I do find that kind of nice for at certain times. Yes, that is. I'm just getting kind of crazy here, putting in some different colors, some reds and some purples. And just to show you, there's there's always several ways to do things, and the background stuff is particularly fun for just kind of going for it. I am leaning towards purple. I see sort of a purple background kind of thing, and that's kind of one of my favorite palettes. This secondary triad combination of three colors, of the three secondary colors of green, orange, and purple. I confess I am a fan of that particular combination. So I think I've done enough. Done enough damage for one video. But let me just try to make sure. This is kind of bugging me. Scrub that away, clean that up a little bit. And just refine. I see there's a lot of places where I didn't actually come up and touch the skin. And indeed, it won't really hurt to paint over that even a little bit. It's getting pretty dry over here. I actually kind of like that. Okay, I'm being a good example setter. I saw that I had painted over this with some water, and I was kind of digging how that looked. It's just sort of it's fuzzing it out a little bit. And just kind of making it fuse a little bit with the background more, pushing the rest of the composition forward. That was a little, that was interesting. I wonder what would happen if I did that in a lot of areas. And indeed, look what I did right there. And I probably will be doing some of that intentionally too. I will finish this one thought. Emphasizing how crisp the lines are is another way, just another of the many ways to create contrast. Kind of kidding. Now I'm curious if. Anyways, I'll blab more later. But let me see. This is coming along. It's lightening up still. I could do. Part of this is really just getting familiar with all the different things you have to do and when you can do them when, and just looking and saying, oh, maybe I could do that right now. It's pretty wet down here, so this color is going to run quite a bit. Unless I try to get it a little bit more dry. That's a bigger subject. But the basics is that of trying to do what's often referred to as dry on wet is if I have really strong concentrated color in my brush and sort of apply it with authority, even if the paper is pretty wet, it won't blend out nearly as much as if I just brought in some watery color like that. I'm going to blend that out a touch because that was not quite working for me. Yeah, let's let that be. So I'm losing some of my lighter values right around here, and that might be something that I deal with. In fact, it probably will be something. And I'll get out my stiffer bristle brush. But let's call that a video for now. With I suppose I could turn it right side up.